All ready to begin then. Yeah, welcome to Troop 2020 virtual troop meeting. I'm Greg Spears, and also with me is Robinson Koo and Madhu Bora. We're the Polaris District Scouts BSA Roundtable team. Just sort of remind everybody that this meeting is being recorded as part of the University of Scouting. We have a meeting agenda put together. We'll do an opening. We're going to do a safety minute, then a skills teaching. We'll talk about other skills so we can teach at a virtual meeting. Then we're going to do a patrol breakout rooms. And we're going to end up with a game and then closing. All the pictures and videos that are in this presentation are from the Scouts BSA Brand Center, the website listed here. So let's start with an opening. So if everyone could please rise. Scout salute.
Those in uniform, please salute. Those who are not, put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight.
A scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent.
2. Thank you. So normally we would have scouts running the opening ceremony. Since this is adult leader only meeting, I went and got this presentation off of the Scouts BSA Roundtable national page. So for a safety moment, I want to point out that for these virtual meetings, we want to be sure that we are following youth protection policies at all times. That includes having too deep leadership and no one-on-one contact between adult leaders and the scouts. Make sure that we're using business-oriented conference platforms, and we know what the use policy is for those platforms, what information the platform is saving, read through the term of service and understand what that software platform is doing. Make sure that we're not recording any online activities or meetings that include youth participants. If you're recording a meeting that involves adults, make sure you're aware of what the local council policy is on that. Also, make sure that you're reviewing the terms of service from time to time to make sure that nothing has changed. Be sure that you're safeguarding personal information and no collecting of any personal information for youth under the age of 13. When running the virtual meeting, we want to still have roles for the scouts to perform. This is examples of what roles they can have. Have your SPL leading the meeting, the ASPLs as moderators, co-hosts, monitoring the chat. Make sure you're allowing youth to enter the room from the waiting room. You'd have your scribe keeping track of attendance. For your scoutmasters and assistant scoutmasters, you want to be monitoring the meeting for any YPT or cyberbullying issues. And one thing that we highly suggest is disabling any one-on-one chat and only allowing allow chat that goes out to everybody. That way you're able to see what's happening in the meeting. So now we're going to go into a skills teaching. We're going to talk about setting up Zoom security, things to disable, how to set up a breakout room, running a poll, and then we'll share a checklist of things to set up during the meeting. We're more familiar with using Zoom for our meetings, so that's what we're going to focus on. If you're using a different tool, just take this as an example of things to look for in the tool you're using, and try and set things up the same way. It seems that National Council is also pushing the use of Zoom, so a lot of these slides come from the National Zoom presentation. So again, main thing about doing the virtual online meetings is to make sure that we're following the YPT principles. So when setting up your Zoom meeting, make sure you have it password protected to keep people that you don't want to come in and join the meeting. Make sure you're using authenticated users, people who are actually logged into Zoom. Lock down your meetings to keep people from joining in late. Use the waiting rooms. That way you can see who's waiting to get into your meeting. And turn off participant screen sharing. So that way only the presenters are showing things on the screen and you don't have other people putting things up that you don't want. And again, no recording of meetings that include youth participants. So we're showing in the Zoom setup window as you're scheduling your meeting, you have the ability to turn on your meeting password. You have the ability to turn on or off video recording and also to turn that off for any participants. Again, here as you're setting up your meeting, is this enabling the waiting room, and select authorized users only joining the meeting. There's other settings that you can do to set up your Zoom meeting. You'll see the little icon here, sort of a gear icon. If you click on that, you get other options that you can set up. So you go in there and configure the rest of how you want the meeting set up. Other things to look for additional security here on the right side of the screen, you see a chat here. Robinson is talking to Madhu privately. He's talking to me privately. Other people can't see what he's saying to me. That's bad. We wanted somebody to only be able to talk to everybody. And that way we can keep an eye out for YPT and any cyberbullying that's happening. Other things that we're going to show is enabling polling in Zoom, enabling the breakout rooms, and enabling the waiting room. So the next thing we're going to show is setting up the breakout rooms. So Zoom allows to have up to 50 separate sessions. The host is able to choose and split up the participants. Madhu or Robertson, while I'm talking, can you kind of do the same thing that we did on Thursday and
Yeah,
group
I'm doing
people
good.
up? Yeah. So one thing that we find when we do the breakout rooms at our roundtable meeting is we have the participants put down whether they're there for Cub Scouts or for Scouts BSA, and they'll put either Cub or BSA at the front of their name. And that allows us to group people up faster to set up the breakout rooms. So if we're going to do a breakout room as a couple of patrols. So when you're running a Zoom meeting for your own troop, you could have the scouts put their patrol name, and that allows us to allows you to easily group the scouts for the breakout rooms. So again, 2D leadership must be maintained during each breakout session. And if it's a girl troop, at least one of the female leaders must be over the age of 21 and in the breakout room. Kind of example, my daughter's troop is also connected with a boy troop. They meet at the same time. So they'll do an opening as one big group, and then they'll break out into breakout rooms, and the boy troop will have a breakout room. The girl troop will have a breakout room, and we have one female leader and the scoutmaster that go into the girls' breakout room.
Hey, Greg, we have a couple comments here.
Sure.
From JP, another good tip for security is to not post the meeting login info anywhere publicly, like on social media. That's a really good tip. And,
yes. Yes. Best to just share it directly with the scouts and leaders and not put it on social media.
Another comment we have here is I have a question regarding a no recording. Can we take screenshots to use for our virtual slideshows at Court of Honor?
So I think that probably falls under the same rules as far as taking pictures at troop meetings. There should be permission given to the troop to do that. And I think on the youth application, I believe there's permission there, but probably also want to keep your own copy for the troop.
One more is the latest version of Zoom allows members to choose which breakout room they want to go into. So that is great. Mm-hmm. And I think everyone needs to be on the same, a certain Zoom version for that to happen. So anything that's older won't be able to do that. But going forward, as everyone upgrades their Zoom clients, we'll be able to implement that, at least for those people to use that feature.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another option that we've tried. But I thought for this meeting, we were going to break people up manually.
And last one we have here so far is can you have a breakout room with the scouts without any adults? I think it's on the next slide, right? We have that maybe.
I think it's only here. Now I believe the guidance is that there should be 2 adults in the breakout rooms.
Yes.
Now, if you ever find yourself in a breakout room with the youth and there's only 1 adult, you definitely leave the room and leave it to the scouts, or close down the breakout room completely and just have the one meeting.
The question is, what about 0 adults?
My understanding is that the answer to that is no,
but I would also encourage everybody during your Voice of the Scout feedback sessions to just say, this makes it really, really hard to do things and to get things done.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
and especially the two female, or having a female in the female breakout rooms, just trying to be able to do sign off sessions where the upper class scouts sign off, tying a knot for the younger scouts. It makes it really, really hard to get enough adults to make that happen. So
you say that you believe that that you cannot have a breakout room with just scouts in it. Are you getting that from authority?
I am quite certain, like I remember reading that from the national website.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of discussion. There's a lot of discussion about you could have a in-person patrol meeting without having any leaders present.
Right.
But I think the most recent YPT, you can't have even a patrol meeting without leaders in person.
So the new YPT is
YPT as a year ago, you can't do that.
Okay.
Or 2 years ago, you can't do that.
And I think there's probably concerns about bullying, online concerns about cyberbullying. So they really want that too deep leadership present to prevent that. Okay. So this is showing setting up the breakout rooms and navigate through the account management page, through account settings. Then there's a breakout room option, which is shown down here. This blue marks that it's enabled. So once you set that up, on the host screen, you'll see a breakout rooms option. And then when you open that up, it allows you to set up a certain number of rooms. And then you can either have Zoom automatically assign people, or you can manually select people and assign them. So we're going to manually select people and assign them to rooms. There's an option to set how long the Zoom meetings, breakout rooms are open. So we're going to do about 7 minutes with a 2-minute warning. So you could do that for your patrol meetings. If you want to have it for 15 minutes, set it for 15 minutes and the room will stay open. Oh, and actually here, this next screen is actually showing opening up a breakout room. So in this example, there was nobody else that was online, just the host, but it would show a number of people that are present, how many rooms you want to set up, whether you automatically just assign people or manually select people. And then this lower one here, under options, you would have the ability to set how long the room is open for, and how you want to close the room when it's done. And before we actually go into the breakout rooms, we're just going to finish off talking about setting up meeting polls. So, if you want to, have the scouts make a decision during a meeting, you could use these polls to do that. Again, under the account settings, you would see the polling option. You can turn on and then create the poll to share. And we're going to do one in just a minute, but here's some kind of examples of polls you might want to do in your troop meeting. So possibly electing your leaders, selecting a location to go camping or a hike, select the summer camp you go to, and possibly if your troop has a number of different games that they like to play, that they could pick the game they want to play for that night. So I'm going to share an example of a poll right now. So everyone should see a poll question that popped up. Can select and submit your answer.
So Greg, so you needed to have set that up before we started the Zoom session, correct?
Yes, this does need to be set up before the Zoom session is opened up.
Okay.
Actually, you can create polls on the fly too, if you're the host.
I just saw somebody do that, Justin, very recently. I didn't know that was possible. I mean, I've been the host before, but maybe it depends on the level of your account or how much you pay for that particular. Is that like Pro Plus or something like that?
I don't think so, but it might be one of the global settings that you have to set correctly before you start it to allow that. But I do know I have done polls on the fly before.
Okay.
Yeah. You just go to the website for Zoom. You can't do it from within the Zoom application. You have to go to the Zoom website and log in.
But you can do that still as you're holding your Zoom meeting.
You can
go
do
to
that
the
as you're
website and set it up.
Yeah. So for example, if you're electing a patrol leader, you find out which kids want to run for patrol leader. You hopefully have set it up in advance so it doesn't take you too long to do it. And then you just type in the names of the kids who want to be patrol leader and then make that poll happen.
Okay. Yeah. So you don't have to do it before the meeting starts. You can do it while the meeting's going on, but you're still doing it on the web. You're still doing it in a browser.
Yeah, it has to be on a browser.
Yeah, gotcha.
And I think the one thing I will add to that is the ability to do the polling, I believe, has to be done before the meeting. Yeah. So that setting has to be done beforehand. But then it's a lot of work. That's why we need 2 or 3 people. So if maybe the organizer is speaking, someone's recording it, and then in the meantime creating the poll. You definitely don't want to be the person that's talking and creating the poll at the same time. But it's doable. It's just preferred to be done beforehand if you know the questions or the poll that you are doing.
Okay. So here I've showed the results of the poll that we just took. So this is just a meeting checklist of things that you should do when you're starting your meeting up. We're going to share these slides with everybody. I think rather than go through step by step what these things are, just leave them up there. You can look at them. I guess from experience, from our first presentation that we did here, I forgot to turn on the computer audio before we started. So when I played the video at the beginning, nobody could hear it. So I guess as a host, just go on, make sure that the audio is working. A tip that Robertson had shared with me last time was that I've connected on my phone as well, so that I can see what everyone else is seeing when I'm presenting, so I can see what is actually up on the screen, because I've got my presenter screen here that's showing me something different. So, as a host, that's the way to make sure that my PowerPoint is working the way that I expect it to. The audio is working. So I just go through and make sure that everything's working correctly before the meeting starts. So for other ideas for things to teach as part of the skills, cyber chip is probably a good one to start with. Make sure that the scouts are aware of the dangers that are online and how to handle it and what to do. So cyber chip is one thing that you can teach. Some of these are examples of what my son and daughter's troops have been doing. First aid can be difficult with having to do bandages and doing carries, but you go over basic first aid, what to do for a cut, for a burn, bug bite, go through those requirements as part of first aid. Emergency preparedness, while the scouts are home, the other day my son is running around the house looking for things. What are you doing? What are you doing? He said, well, I want to see where the power shut off is here. I want to see where the water shut off is. So, they can be doing that. They can, come up with a plan for, what to do if there's an emergency in the house. Put together a emergency kit. It's all things that they can do while they're home in a virtual meeting that'd be difficult for them to do if they're at their regular meeting spot. There's all the different merit badges that we can do remotely. And then another example from my son and daughter's troops. My son's troop invited a city council member to come and talk with them. My daughter's troop invited a local judge to come and talk to them. So you could have community leaders come and talk to the scouts. It's probably easier for them to come and do this virtually online rather than having to go to your regular meeting location. And then, there's troops that are starting to do some outings. And I think a lot of them are saying that, they have limited, face-to-face time with the cohorts that need to be set up and, keeping an eye out for any health issues. So it's better that they use their meeting time, their virtual meeting time to do their outing planning and get everything set up. And then they use their monthly outing time as their face-to-face meeting time. So those are ideas for what can be done at a virtual meeting.
And I'll add a couple things in terms of I think attended a couple of the national roundtables meetings for the commissioners, and they even went some districts are really large apparently, and so some districts have already made a decision to even after COVID-19 that they'll continue using online, and again the main reason is to save time. 30 minutes to drive to the location, 10-15 minutes to set up, and then after the meeting another 10-20 minutes to drive back to your house. So then again, either some sort of hybrid for those that can make it, or by having some sort of online thing is definitely the way to go going forward, I believe.
To be honest with you, I am going to miss the fact that I can just go into my office and go to a meeting, and then,
That's right. 30 minutes to drive somewhere, prepare and everything. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, and with running our virtual roundtables, our attendance number has been our regular face-to-face meeting that usually has the highest people that show up is our merit badge counseling that we do once a year. Our numbers since we've gone to virtual meetings has beaten that attendance number every month. So it's going to be hard to go back to face-to-face roundtables.
I'll tell you one more thing, that today, in the midst of all the classes, I actually went to a Cub Scout event at they had a live Cub Scout outdoor event of a little bike rally. And I had to actually wear my full uniform. And this was the first time probably in months that I actually wore Scout pants, because I usually just wear the shirt that have blue jeans on.
Okay, so we're gonna do the patrol time now.
Yeah. Okay.
Greg,
Yes.
Greg, we did the scavenger hunt, but the timing, I think we need to fine tune. I mean, we just got an idea like what we do, but the timing, it just threw us out of the room in 1 minute. So there was still, I don't know if my patrol, they were able to grab everything.
Nice.
Here's a list again. I think this is probably a good time that we could talk about, what fun activities can we do in a scout meeting, because we don't want this to be just another class that the scouts are going to. I went through the teaching portion faster in this meeting than when we did it on Thursday. And I think just kind of so we could get to the fun activities and talk about what fun activities we can do. So does anyone have any suggestions of what they're doing with their troop that works?
Well, I'll just mention what I mentioned in our breakout with games. A lot of the kids these days are playing Scribble.io. I got corrected when I called it Scriblio, as we all in our troop call it. There's, even when you go into set up a private room that's only by invitation, we've had scenarios where the person that set up the private room copied the game number, put it in the chat, and people clicked on it, and it still put them in a public room where there were other people online playing, and they were drawing rather scout inappropriate things. And one of our scouts said, well, we can use the whiteboard function in Zoom to do the exact same thing. And I said, great, go for it. So he led, he asked for some people to volunteer. One person did a random, random number generator for who was going to go next. One person came up with the things that they were going to draw and would private message it to the next person that was going to draw, and then they would know what the word was, and then they'd start drawing. And in 5-10 minutes, 3 of our scouts had basically organized an entire Scribble.io game based off of the whiteboard function in Zoom. And it was all, there was no risk of anybody from the outside being in it, because it was just those that were in our Zoom. So that's a caution if you're using Scribble.io, and a workaround by using the whiteboard function.
Yeah, I think my daughter's troop has started doing that with the whiteboard rather than go off to another site. Does anyone else have any suggestions about games or activities that they are doing?
So Jackbox.tv, like you buy the game under Jackbox.com, but the girls connect on their phones by going to the Jackbox.tv website. My daughter's patrol really loves playing that game, or playing those games. There's a whole bunch of them. Most of them have a maximum of 8 or 10 kids at a time. Some of them go up to 16, so they're not good for a whole troop. Jackbox.tv. And then with the Cahoots, the girls troop, for their full troop meetings, they love doing the Cahoots. And the girls, they have each patrol as a different responsibility for leading the meetings. And the patrol that's leading it, usually they teach a skill and then they have a Kahoot on that skill, and they have a lot of very silly questions in their Kahoot. Things like which patrol has renamed themselves the most times, and what is the nickname for our scoutmaster, and things like that are very silly, but the kids love it.
Yeah, the Jackbox.tv, there's also an audience feature, so you could have a patrol that's playing it, and the rest of the troop could take part as the audience. And I know some of the games do have settings where you can restrict it to family-friendly topics. Not all of the games do, I don't think, though.
So,
they've especially loved Fibbage 3. So it's like there's 5 or 6 different party packs, which are about $15 to $20 each. But the party, if you're only buying one, the party pack that has the game Fibbage 3, then it's all about us or something along those lines, where it's you make up a truth and a lie about yourself. The kids are getting to know each other better through those things, and getting to know, this is the person who always talks about anime. This is the person who always talks about owls. This is the person. And they're deepening their friendships through playing. They really like the Fibbage 3. That's their favorite game.
Okay. Is there any teaching topics that have gone over really well during a virtual meeting?
I'll chime in here. My wife's girl troop, their senior patrol leader planned the week that we were supposed to be at High Sierra this summer. She planned an entire week long, every night, 2-hour activity of some sort. They had a cooking demonstration, and she'd sent the recipe out to everybody, so everybody got to make the same thing, and then they all got to try it at the end. That went really well. They had like a handicraft night. They did the photography merit badge one night, started that. They did a virtual campfire. They did a gardening night where they all potted a little succulent plant. So all different kinds of things that in some respects it's easier, as we were talking about before, it's easier to do virtually than it would have been to do in person. Of course, there's the challenge of how do you get the materials and things like that to everybody ahead of time, but that all just takes planning. And there's if the scouts want to do it, they will find a way. And what we're here for is to help them find that way. So.
One that went really well for our girl patrol was the fingerprinting merit badge. And we, in advance on Amazon, you can get these little co-illuminating lenses, like for laser printers, and they're about 75 cents each, but you have to buy them in packs of 10. And the girls each picked one up from my front porch, and basically you stick it on your phone with a little bit of tacky, like poster tack, and then it turns your phone into a magnifying glass. So you can do that and look at your, like, follow the thing that it says in the merit badge pamphlet to, scribble and make a graphite bit of your fingerprint, but then you can enhance it a little bit, but by doing things that aren't in the merit badge pamphlet and turning your phone into it's a really good microscope, actually.
So it's like a little lens?
Yeah, it's a little lens. I can go get it and show you.
Yeah. So while she's getting that, at yet another University of Scouting class, there was a lady who gave out this list of games. So I just gave you a link to it. This is not mine. I didn't make it, but there's a whole, she put a whole list of games in this spreadsheet. So feel free, whatever value it gives you.
Nice.
Thank you, Bob.
And that just goes on the lens of your camera, on your lens of your phone.
That's great. In terms of time, oh, nice. This goes on that phone. I'd like to answer, I guess, talk about JP's original question. You have a new scout. How do you make them feel welcome? Instead of, hey, you have another Zoom session next Friday. Hey, you have a whole day session next week on a Scout-rama. So make it fun, how to do it, things of that nature. I guess my 2 cents there is for our patrol, we have one new scout that joined maybe about 3 months ago from the bridging over. And the way that I've talked to the troop guide and the patrol leader to try to incorporate him is to find out what kind of games he wants to play. If it's he loved Among Us. He told us about the Among Us, and then the patrol leader decided to play it because he wanted to play it. And the second thing that our troop has been doing is we've been gradually opening up a little bit. We haven't had any campouts. We haven't gone to that level yet. But we've been meeting at the local parks, and we've been planning things at the even the county parks, like a little hiking activities. So that seems to work, bringing in the new people, at least meeting in person. Hey, these are my 7 other patrol mates for the Hawks, and then they do a little service project. We've done a service project at the park in person, and patrol meetings in person. But again, not every single one, but maybe like once a month, meeting a quick hour and a half. So I think that's my 2 cents.
Can I ask the group some insights on trying to help the kids to actually do advancement? Mostly what I'm thinking is trail to first class advancement in this time. And I'm especially interested in talking about how the brand new scouts, the scouts that joined us in March and April, that were Arrow of Light scouts, how are we helping them to become, even to just get the scout badge? I mean, anyone who's been in scouting for a while knows that just to get scout now has become a much larger ordeal. It used to be just do 4 or 5 things and bam, you're scout. Now I got my book out, and there's like an entire page of things you got to do to get scout. And I can tell you in our troop, those poor Arrow of Light scouts, I don't think any of them have achieved scout yet. And it's been since March. And that to me seems like a crime. I always kind of felt, maybe, I shouldn't say this to the kids, but I always felt that a kid was not truly in the program, not truly a scout until he at least earned the scout badge. It's kind of like he filled out the application and you're really gonna, you're gonna really be, call yourself a scout when you've earned scout. And I don't think any of our Arrow Lights have done that yet. Anybody have any insight on how we can help them to do that in the current environment?
Yeah, Bob, I'll talk a little bit about what we did in our troop with that. I always like when we have a court of honor, I always like for everybody to have the opportunity to get something. So we were delaying having our court of honor, and we actually finally said, you know what, forget it. We're just going to do the court of honor because there's too many people. That we had one scout that had 12 merit badges that he's done during the pandemic. And it was like, no, we're just going to do it. Having the court of honor, and as harsh as it may sound, for the scouts that didn't receive something at the court of honor or didn't necessarily have a rank, were still working on their scout rank, that inspired a lot of them to finish whatever they had to do. I actually have a Scoutmaster conference. I'm looking at the clock in half an hour on Zoom for one of our scouts that he's actually, he joined us 2 years ago and is just now, I think this is his Tenderfoot Scoutmaster Conference. So one, seeing the other scouts be rewarded is inspiration, definitely. The other thing about Scout Rank in particular is most of the requirements are almost identical to the Arrow of Light Scouting Adventure requirements. So while that is still hopefully fresh in their mind from Arrow of Light, it's really good to do that right after they've joined the troop. And, have your older scouts go through that with them. And it's even better if your older scouts had invited, if it's a pack that is your typical feeder pack, do a Arrow of Light Scouting Adventure activity day where your scouts from your troop are working with the Arrow of Light scouts to help them get their scouting adventure completed. And then a couple months later, they join your troop, and you can do the exact same agenda from the scouting adventure to get them through their Scout Rank requirements. So just a couple ideas of how we've done it. But doing the Arrow of Light activity day, that's a big one. We've done that a couple years, and it really shows the scouts coming into the troop. It's a great recruiting tool because those scouts go, oh, these older scouts in this troop really care about me getting my requirements. Mm-hmm. I want to go to that troop.
Right.
So
that's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Helps.
Peer pressure definitely works too, as you said.
Okay. We're past the hour now, so we've got to start to wrap this up. First of all, virtual scavenger hunt. If you have the items that you went out and got, if you want to show those now. I tried to skip this at the last meeting, and everyone was yelling at me. They spent all that time.
I think Beth has a lot. I saw her show her stuff.
So, and then my wood badge creature, JP will like this because he was my wood badge mentor. There's my eagle right on my name tag.
Yep, and I got mine right here.
I probably have the right patches in here somewhere.
Oh my gosh, Bob, that's a whole bag.
And I just grabbed this. It's the wood badge, beads, neckerchief, and woggle for one of my participants. So I don't know where that fits in on this scavenger hunt, but I figured wood badge and stuff. So, and it was right next to me, so I kind of cheated.
Okay.
Okay. We'll do a closing and then end the meeting. We do?
Yes. Yeah, this is the story of a tiny frog. There once was a bunch of tiny frogs who got together to arrange a competition to reach to the top of the highest tower in town. As the date for the competition was announced, the news spread everywhere, and a crowd in large numbers gathered around the tower to see this interesting competition and cheer on the contestants. The crowd did not really believe any of these little frogs were going to make it to the top of the tower. Yet they were curious. The competition began. The frogs quickly started to ascend and the crowd cheered. As a few moments passed, someone from the crowd shouted, "Not a chance that they will succeed. The tower is too high." Another spectator said, "Yes, they will never make it to the top. It's way too difficult." As the competition continued, some of the tiny frogs began collapsing one by one, tired and exhausted. But the race continued as those who still had the fight left passionately continued to climb higher and higher. In the excitement and anxiety, the crowd continued to yell, "It's too difficult. No one will make it." More tiny frogs got tired and gave up. They all continued to give up one by one until there was one little frog left in the competition who continued to climb higher and higher and higher. This one wouldn't give up. This one tiny frog, who, after a big effort, was the only one who reached the top. This little soul was the winner. He made it. He got the glory. Naturally, everyone wanted to know how this one tiny frog managed to pull it off when every other contestant gave up. Everybody wanted to know how this tiny frog had found the strength to reach this goal that everyone else thought it was impossible. So they asked questions. It turned out that the winner was deaf. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhu. So just a couple more slides here. So this is just a list of where I got the slides from. The National Roundtable Planning Resources has a lot of information on doing the virtual meetings. There's also where you can find information on digital safety. They have, I think, about a dozen videos from Zoom on how to set up the Zoom meetings. And then the video and the pictures all came from the Scouting Marketing website. And then there's Google Doc here that has the full meeting checklist to go through before starting a meeting. There's a link to this presentation, and questions and comments can be emailed to me. Thank you for attending.
Well done, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.